Hey, John again here. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. How can you escape a very transactional business like house flipping to a passive business so you can spend more time with your family? Today's guest shares his very personal story on the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast. This week's podcast is brought to you by Spartan Invest. Spartan currently manages hundreds of turnkey properties across Alabama and Tennessee, and is where I personally bought my first out-of-state turnkey property. In fact, I have two properties with them now, and both tenants just renewed for another 2 years. That should tell you the quality of their team and their due diligence. If you are a first-time investor or are looking to expand your real estate portfolio, check out SpartanInvest.com.
Are you tired of the 9-to-5 lifestyle? Do you want more freedom to do what you want, when you want it, without sacrificing your current income? Then this is the show for you. Every week, we dive into John's journey towards financial freedom and everything he has learned since 2014. Real estate investing, cryptocurrency, stocks, private lending, foreign residency, tax saving strategies, infinite banking, assets protection, and much more. Now, here is your host, the founder of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus, John Rickgarn.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. This is John Rickgarn, your host, as always, of the Wealth and Freedom Nexus podcast, coming to you from the snowy tundra of Marshall, Minnesota. As we are recording this, it is about negative 30 wind chill. For those of you down south, I hope you were sitting down or not operating heavy machinery. But yes, it gets into the negative 20s, 30s, 40s here. Schools are closed, roads are closed, travel's not advised. But for my listeners, I still come in the office to do these recordings and make sure these get pounded out every Wednesday for you. With that, I wanted to bring on a very special guest, Dan Zitofsky, actually coming to us from Delaware. Dan and I first met at the Spartan Summit in 2019 and really took to heart his story of how he got into real estate, how he changed directions in real estate, shall we say, and what his overarching why he got into real estate, why he wrote a book, why he started being a life coach for others, wealth, and obviously now health, which obviously go hand in hand nowadays. So with that, Dan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, John. I appreciate being on. I just look forward to great shows like this and sharing with audiences as many golden nuggets as I could to maybe offset some diversions they might have in their plan and kind of, living out loud, let them know what I went through, be vulnerable. So hopefully they can learn from my lessons and, shortcut their success a little bit greater than I did.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the real estate guys say it best, success leaves clues. If you can follow up or research and follow other successful people, learn what they did and maybe what took them 10, 15, 20 years. Hey, maybe you can do a couple shortcuts and get there in 4 years. And I think if we can all find shortcuts or golden nuggets, we're all going to end up being better for it.
100%.
Now with that, Dan, I'll just kind of pass the baton on to you. Maybe you can just kind of start off, going back and, similar to the speech you gave us back in 2019 at the Spartan Summit, which, really impacted me, but maybe you can just kind of start, go back how you got into real estate and really kind of what became your big why, getting into passive investing and helping others with their journey as well.
Sure. Well, basically, I'm doing this now, and I can't even believe I'm saying this. I'm doing this 31 years at this point.
Oh, wow.
A long time. Wow. I bought my first property. I was 19 years old. I'm going to be turning, as of this podcast, I'll be turning 50 in June. So I'm doing this a long time. But as growing up, I didn't grow up with a family that did a lot of real estate. Didn't even grow up from a great family. Just kind of a broken home. I probably should have been in statistics, and I don't want to make this a rags to riches type story because it wasn't as terrible as that, but it was a rags to riches type story. Didn't have much growing up. Didn't really have a good network in my household. Had great grandparents though, and my grandfather did some real estate, so I always watched him and I always enjoyed it. But not having money, I always equated with success to in life to money. And I always said when I was a kid, I said when my parents wouldn't buy me a pair of sneakers or give me money to go out with my friends. I always said, I'm going to be rich one day and be successful. And I always had that in my head, that rich was successful. And when growing up, I basically had to go through the Navy. When I've gone through the police department, and I always struggled. But for me, always making that extra money came to real estate. And I got to the point where I did serve in 9/11. I was in the second building of the World Trade Center that came down.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was doing real estate investing. And I knew I didn't want to be a police officer long. So I always told my wife, I'm going to be a police officer until I don't have to anymore. So I was in the mortgage business. I started buying more real estate, and I was fixing and flipping. It was typical fix and flipper. I had a couple of rentals, but everything was fixing and flipping. And I'm not going to take the whole hour or half hour even on this show to talk about it, but I'm going to give the high level of it.
Sure.
What I did is I started flipping anywhere from 30, 40, sometimes 50 houses a year. I was netting, for me to flip a property, it was no less than 50,000. Generally, I would average 50 to 80,000. Sometimes I make six figures on a flip. So you can figure out the numbers. I was very successful. I was making multiple seven figures a year flipping properties. And I grew up not having much. Like I said, it's not a rags to riches story, but at that point, I always started buying. I was in the watches, cars, boats. I started really spending some crazy money. And I started showing off at that point, right? I started building my ego because now that was a successful thing for me to have these beautiful cars. And I had the cars that people dream of. I still have some of them now because I bought them already. I have a watch collection that could probably choke a horse at this point. But I did it not for myself, really. I did it really because I was trying to show other people who really didn't care about me anyway that I was successful. And I got to the point where I couldn't keep up anymore. And you're talking about keeping up with the Joneses. I was just trying to keep up with the business. I was very successful in what I did, but I was very transactional. And that's the important part. It was very transactional. And what I was doing is I was doing those 30 to 50 flips every single year. But I was working anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week. I could not enjoy myself. And when people would say, and I ask people when I mentor them, and I say, why are you doing this? What's your why? And generally I'll get from them, I either want my spouse to stay, I want to retire them. I want to retire myself. I want to spend more time with my kids. I don't want to work that 9-to-5 job. I want to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. But when I look at their actions, they're doing totally opposite. Okay. They're working those 80 to 100 hour weeks. And 80 to 100 hours was a light week for me. I mean, I still remember two specific events. One is my family took me to the Outer Banks of North Carolina because I couldn't get cell phone service out then. So nobody can call me for a week. And man, I was miserable being on that vacation. I couldn't stop thinking about what was going on. I remember the blowout fight we finally had was we were out to dinner on a Sunday night with friends. It was two other couples, so 6 adults. I spent the whole dinner outside the restaurant talking to my contractor, my realtor on the phone. I missed the whole dinner where my wife had to bring the dinner home. And that spurred into that argument. I talk about that argument like I'm getting chills right now. We've been talking about it because that was the change of everything for me. And my wife was so upset. And I was upset that she was upset because everything you want to give you the cars, the jewelry, the vacations, to the point where she finally started screaming. She goes, we wanted none of this. We wanted none of this. It's all about you. You wanted it. All we wanted is you to be here. We want you to be present on vacation. And she goes, you're turning into the same, parent that you complained that you had. You're turning into a horrible husband and a horrible father. And I'm getting goosebumps even saying that. Sure. And it felt like somebody pierced me in this heart with a knife. And I still remember that day. And I literally hit my knees and I started tearing up and I started crying. And I'm like, how did I go wrong? I was at a loss. I was at a total loss of how I went wrong. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do right. I was there for my kids. I was there for my wife. I didn't cheat on my wife. I was good. I didn't beat my kids. I treated them with respect, but I wasn't truly there. Even when I was there, I wasn't present. I was never there. If I was there, I was on the phone all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to do anything else. It was either go back, do mortgages full time, like I was doing them, which is even harder, do flipping. I didn't know how to do anything else. And then I said, I have a couple rentals, but to make $300, $400, $500 on a property is nice. But it's a lot nicer to make $80,000 or $100,000 on a flip, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot sexier. And until I figured out that it gets pretty damn sexy when you do a couple hundred rentals and a couple hundred seller finance notes, and that $300, $400, $500, $600 and up comes in hundreds and hundreds of times without having to deal with all the headaches that we're talking about.
Right.
So every time the rent is due, it's like an ATM machine. Every time my seller finance payments are due, it's an ATM machine. So I turned my business into passive income. Now, I know people say, well, being a landlord is not passive 100%. No, it's not, but it's a path to being passive.
Right.
So I turned this into, and I'm very careful what I tell people. I don't tell people generally how much I have, because I don't want them, not because I don't want to boast, not because I don't want to brag. It has nothing even to do with that. And I know some people boast and brag all the time. I don't want people to look at me and say, I can't do what he does. All right. How do you own so many assets? I own one at a time.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about it. In 2019, I sold all my multifamilies. I don't own any. As a general partner, I don't own any multifamilies. I'm involved in, I lend in some syndications. So I'm a limited partner in a bunch, but I'm not a general partner in any. Why? Because that's anything but passive for me.
Right.
All right. I want to be in passive business. Now, I do some transactional deals here and there right now. Right? I do build some houses now. I do some transactional business, but not a lot. But for me, every month I have my rentals and I have my seller finance notes. To get into seller financing the right way, my business model is, and I always tell people, I raise capital to buy distressed debt from the banks or sellers, providing my investors better than average returns. I buy those distressed debts. I get those assets fixed up. Okay. I get them rented. I get them professionally managed, not by myself, other than in my own home state, which my wife handles. I get them professionally managed, and then I seller finance them. I become the bank. Okay. Now, when I become the bank, I don't worry about tenants, toilets, or trash. Right? So I truly become passive. I don't even collect the payment. It goes right to my servicing company. My servicing company ACHs my account. That's how passive I am. Okay. So when you want to talk about passive income, you have to have a plan. But when you have that plan, if you're out there wholesaling properties, if you're out there flipping properties, if you're out there hoteling properties, if you're out there buying multifamilies, you're not truly passive, right? If you don't find the property again next month, you're not making any money. That's transactional business. Now, there's a mix, right? Because some deals come in, they have to become transactional. But I used to only look for those transactional. So my why now is to do what I want, when I want, anytime I want. Okay. And I can't do that by flipping houses because I can flip 3 houses this month, but next month, if I don't have one, I'm not flipping anything. I have no money coming in.
Right.
So now I can truly live the life I want to live, doing what I want, which is living my why and my vision, which is coaching, mentoring, both in finance, life, and more importantly now in health. I love health coaching people now after what I've done for myself. So being able to do that, going out and speaking at events, right? I'm a paid speaker at some events. I get to do life coaching. I get to do consulting with businesses. I get to help lenders become private lenders. So I teach them how to be private lenders. I get to do everything I love to do, changing people's lives without worrying about picking up the phone to deal with contractors, inspectors, appraisers, realtors. And I get to truly choose my life. I am intentional about my calendar. My calendar doesn't change. It's intentional. I wake up when I want to wake up. I spend the morning with my grandson or my wife or both. Have my coffee in the morning. I go, if I want to go to gym, I go to gym when I want. I don't take a call. You could tell me I'm going to do $1 million deal and it's going to interrupt my day. And I can guarantee you can ask some of my students, I don't care. I won't touch it.
Wow.
This week's podcast is brought to you by Focus Wealth Group. Do you know you need to get life insurance, but don't know where to start or how much to get? Have you heard of infinite banking, but not sure how it works? Reach out to Barry Brooksby and his team. Barry is not only a mentor, but a friend who has helped me for the past 6 years in my pursuit of cash flow and financial independence. Their mission is simple. They teach people how to make money and hold on to more money. Learn more and set up your free initial consultation at focuswealthgroup.com.
And when you can you get to that point? And when you stay intentional, I'm saying everything is intentional, knowing your vision and knowing your why. And that's in my book. My first chapter is about my why. And I realized what success was. Success was not having all those great cars. There's nothing wrong with them. And I still have them. There's nothing wrong with the watch collection. I still have them. But I'm not working hard to buy an expensive watch to impress somebody who doesn't even like me. I'm not working hard to buy a $200,000 Ferrari anymore, to sit at a red light so somebody could look at me that I don't know. The reason I got into this business is I could do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. And that's very intentional in my life. And that's what I'm hoping whether you're a real estate investor or not, I'm hoping I can get out to the local business owner, the family person, whoever it might be, understand your true why, and make sure your actions meet your vision and your why.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot to unpack there, and definitely a lot of nuggets that I took out of there as well too. So yeah, I think all of us, should live an intentional life and find your why, whether that's spouse, kids, grandkids, travel the world, speaking engagements, whatever that is, without being, I always say handcuffed to that 9 to 5 job, or like many jobs are just very transactional. I spent 12 years in office equipment sales, and yeah, I sold a large production machine, and hey, here's a nice paycheck. Okay, well then it stopped, and then I need to start all over again and start another transaction, start another 5-year lease, start another whatever, and it gets to be a grind after a while. And even if you can work 80, 100 hours a week, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's only so much you can do. But like you said, I think you mentioned you have several 100 rentals and several hundred promissory notes. I mean, in theory, there's no limit to how many notes you can have and how many rentals you can have, as long as it is set up properly to be passively managed. You're not limited to hours in a day.
Exactly. 100%. That's what it's all about, is having a plan of action, sticking to that plan. Don't go off course. Stop letting the dog chase the tail, the tail chase the dog.
Yep.
Trying to get that right. But everyone has that shiny object syndrome, especially on social media, right? Everything looks great.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Next best thing, right? And nobody puts out how they failed, right? Yep. I put out how I failed. I get very vulnerable when I speak on stage because I wanted to hit home for people, right? It's hard for me to be vulnerable. It's easy to talk about how great I am. It's easy for me to show pictures of all the things, the assets I have, the houses I have at the beach, the multiple properties I own in, different locations, and the cars, but I don't put that out there for a reason.
Right.
Because I'd rather, that's not going to help somebody. To truly help them is to be vulnerable and let them know what I did that I screwed up and how you can fix that yourself. And that's what it's all about, to be able to do. There's no way years ago I would be able to be on this show with you. I wouldn't. Right. My phone would have been going crazy. I wouldn't even have been able to think rather than sitting here and talking to you when my contractors and my team is blowing up my phone. Now, yeah, stuff happens. I still get phone calls, but nothing's an emergency anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Not family or friends. It's not an emergency. A house is not an emergency anymore. I sparingly do properties. It has to fit my niche. If it fits my niche, I do them. If it doesn't, I'll transact them. I'll get rid of them. I'll wholesale them, hotel them. Maybe I even will fix and flip them, but I don't get involved. Or I'll buy the property and I'll sell it, finance it to an investor, and I'll hold the note for them. So things do fall in my lap, but I'm very intentional about the type of deals I go after now.
Sure. No, it makes sense. So now, Dan, you had mentioned, I've had numerous real estate investors, turnkey companies on my show. I think, most people understand, like, okay, I buy a rental, you or the company put a renter in it, and, they send that, rental check every month. And I think most people kind of get the, overall, or understand overall how that works. I was wondering if you can get a little bit more into the, how you take a distressed asset or distressed debt and then basically transform that to the performing asset. And then where you, like you said, you're becoming the bank, and then you're getting a, monthly check every month, but then you don't have to worry about the termites, the toilets, the tenants, and every other headache that might blow up your phone. How exactly, if one of my listeners is first hearing about promissory notes, seller-backed finance agreements for the first time, how do you go about getting in that, or how does that process look?
Well, you can do two ways. A tougher way to get in when you first start out, and a lot of what I teach my students is reach out to the asset managers at the banks, try to buy some distressed debt just from the banks. Okay. That's a little bit more time consuming, a little bit tougher. I think the easier way is any of these houses that you would either fix and flip or buy to fix up and rent, the BRRRR method. And a lot of your listeners probably know that method. Yeah. So when you take those properties and you get them rehabbed, right? So if you're buying a distressed property and you rehab it to rent, now you get it rented out. Now you sell that property to an investor that wants a turnkey rental. They don't want to manage it themselves. They don't want to fix it themselves. They don't want to find it themselves. By you doing that, you're now going to be into that property for, let's say, 65 to 70% max, right? Is that your numbers? Okay. You're going to sell it to them at 100%. So
Okay.
$100,000 property, you're into it for 70,000. You're going to sell it to them for 100,000. You're going to have
Okay.
them put down a down payment. I usually take down 30% or $20,000, whichever is greater.
Okay.
Okay. So now if I'm in the property for 70,000 and I put $30,000 down, now I'm only in the property for 40,000, but I have a $70,000 note. So that $70,000 note, I could either I could do a couple things, but I could just keep collecting payments, with a nice return. Okay. Cause I only have 40,000 left in the deal. I could sell $40,000 worth of a partial.
Okay.
Means I can sell part of the payments, right? So if I have 360-year amortization with a 10-year balloon, it means I have 120 payments. I could sell $40,000 worth of payments, get all my money back. So now I have no money in the deal.
Wow.
Or I could borrow against that note. I have a $70,000 note. I can go to an IRA investor, but let's say $50,000. They can give me $50,000. I put $50,000 in my pocket. I profited $10,000, and I'll make a couple $100 a month. And I could do that over and over and over again. And now I don't have to worry about. Let me ask you this, John. Do you own a house?
Yes.
You have a mortgage?
Yep.
Okay. When your toilet bowl breaks, do you call up your Chase Bank or Bank of America or Wells Fargo and say, Mr. Bank, I'm broke, I'm not paying you?
I'd be tempted to, but no, I don't.
Right. Well, that's what we are. We're Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. Obviously I do care what happens to your house, but it truly doesn't matter what happens to if you have tenants, they pay or don't pay, and you put $30,000 down on a house, you're still going to make your $500 a month mortgage payment to me, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I don't care if it's vacant. I don't care if they mess something up. And if they do mess something up, you don't pay me, I just get $100,000 back, back, only into it for 40 now. Now I sell it to somebody else for another $30,000 down. So it doesn't really happen that way. So because the way I protect myself with all the paperwork.
Okay.
My finances and my investors. So I have a lot of lenders that lend us money to do these deals. So I protect their money by all the legal docs I have in place. Okay. So if somebody doesn't pay us, we take the property back and we'll make it work ourselves and then resell it to somebody else or keep it as a rental.
Okay. And then what you're describing there, just for some of my listeners, basically that's considered a collateralized loan, where if you have a credit card that's uncollateralized, you're basically just given a handshake agreement. Yep, I agree to pay it. And not much you can do where, okay, you didn't pay the mortgage, you didn't pay the note. Okay, we're going to foreclose or take back the house. And like you said, fix it up again if it needs to, or it needs to be, and resell it.
Right, exactly. And that's why our investors love funding our deals, because they know we're in the game so long. We've done so many thousands of deals right now. They trust us in the deals. And that's why you said a credit card, uncollateralized loans or high risk investors, that's why people will pay very high interest rates.
Yeah.
We raise collateral at a pretty good, our investors get better than average returns these days, but they like working with us because I'll tell you what, most investors that fund our deals, they're more interested in their money being protected than how much money they make.
Right.
They don't want to deal with problems, right? They're your doctors, your lawyers, your business owners, your executives, your family with IRAs, 401ks, kids' college education in a Coverdell. They want to know that the money is protected. They're getting better than the average returns they're going to get in a bank account, and that's it. They don't want to worry about you running off with their money or you being able to handle the deal when it goes south.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very good. Now, taking one step back, could you tell us a little bit more about your book and how my listeners maybe get a hold of your book or purchase your book?
Sure. I did shoot you the link too, so you could share with the listeners.
Okay.
But also, it's called To Prosperous.
Okay.
You can go right to Amazon. You can get it. They have it in soft cover. If you get soft cover, you see me. A lot of people. It's funny because I go speak at an event and I get 20, 30 people running up with my book, and you see my book picture. It's like it's pretty humbling when people come out with the book. It's Audible. It's Kindle. It's all that stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, you can definitely check it out on Amazon. To Prosperous. And if you drop the link for the book in your show notes with them, they'll be able to get it pretty easily.
Perfect. Yep. And I'll definitely have that again for those listening to this while driving or walking the dog or whatever. All those links will be in the show notes, so you don't have to hit the rewind button and try to find a pad of paper and a pen to write it down. So now moving forward, Dan, and kind of getting into more of present time, and I'm going to say present as in 2021, 2022, personally have made a lot of, changes in your life, not only wealth, but also your lifestyle or the health of your life, and also have helped other listeners and become a coach or offering one-on-one coaching for people. How has that worked for you, and how did you get into the coaching for people with helping with their health and wealth?
That's great. I didn't expect to be a health coach at all, and I'm still learning, and I love it. It's truly my passion, and my why is helping people out and doing it this way. Well, I lost in May. I went to the doctors, and I was powerlifting at the time, so I always thought I was healthy. Last time you saw me, I was probably pretty big, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm 6'3". I was always between, playing football. I was about 210, 215 pounds. As a police officer, I was anywhere from 205 to 220 in that range, but I was always ripped up working out. But I started a couple of years ago, like 2 years ago, powerlifting. So I was a gym rat. So I ballooned up, but I was bench pressing a lot of weight. I was squatting a lot of weight, deadlifting a lot of weight. But as any power lift they get really big. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think I was fat at all. I didn't even look at myself saying I was overweight till I went to the doctor last spring, and the doctor came back and he's like, well, we have a little bit of problem with your blood work. We're going to put you on metformin for your A1Cs. We're going to put you on blood pressure medicine. And I was at the time 48 years old, and I crumbled at that point. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to meds. Mm-hmm. We fought back and forth. He gave me 6 months to try to get it in order myself. Otherwise he was going to put me on meds. And I said, That's great. I'll work hard. I'm going to lose this, but if I don't, I'm still not going on meds. And he said, well, if you don't go on meds, I'm just not going to be able to treat you anymore, which makes sense. I was upset, but it made sense. It means I'm like uncoachable, right?
Sure.
So I'm untreatable. Well, I left that office, and in my head, I'm like, if it doesn't work, I'll just go get like a surgery. I'll go get the weight loss surgery. I'll take the weight off. But I didn't really think I was fat because I was lifting heavy. I was 306 pounds at the time, not thinking I was fat. So I did every cock and bull scheme you could do. I did food fast. I did this keto. I did Herbalife. I did a couple other ones. I did everything. I lost 23 pounds in a couple of months, and I gained, doing the same thing, nothing different. I gained 17 back. So now I was net 300 pounds. And I saw 4 friends of mine at a networking, 3 friends of mine at a networking event, and one, my chiropractor. And every one of them looked like they got really skinny like me. And I said, what'd you guys do? And every one of them is the same thing. They're like, we didn't do this for weight. We did it basically because we were on medications for different things. And I talked to them, and I asked what it was. And they told me, and I met with their coach, and I said, I don't care what it is. Just tell me what to do. I'll eat cardboard if I have to be healthy. I'm all in. When I'm all in, business and family and in health, I'm all in. I don't question anything. I 150% do it. If you tell me to do it, I do it. I was like that when I played sports. I was like that with I'm all in. And that's my hashtag, is always all in. So I went up doing it, and I got really, really healthy. So from the end of September, like October 1st, till the end of November, when I went back to the doctor, I went up losing now another 44 pounds. I was down total of 50 pounds. My A1Cs went way down. My triglycerides went down. My blood pressure went down. I felt amazing. I was sleeping great. I had a ton of energy. My business took off, went through the roof. And I was like, you know what? And I just put a post. It started by me putting a post out there. And I said, basically, I just wanted to help. I didn't want to coach. I had no interest in coaching. I said, I want to help other people who have given up. And I said, listen, I've given up. This is my vulnerable post. Mm-hmm. I said, I've given up. Basically, I gave up. I was like, I'm done. I'm just going to be unhealthy. It's I gave every excuse. COVID. I said my metabolism slowed down. Yeah. I gave every excuse you can give. And I said, guys, just don't give up. This is what I went through. Nobody knew it. I'm on stage speaking. I'm always this happy-go-lucky guy. But if you start peeling back the layer, I was very depressed. I was down and out. 48-year-old, I'm going to be put on meds. I'm not going to be around for my grandkids, my kids. I'm going to have diabetes. I'm going to be going through, I lose my sight. I'm thinking all the worst. I'm going to lose my limbs. I'm going to be going through dialysis. I'm not going to be healthy. One drug leads to another drug, to another drug, to another drug. I went through it all, and I'm trying to put up this facade that I'm happy all the time. And I have the money, I have the lifestyle, but I don't have the health, right? And I felt terrible. So I put the post up just trying to help other people, like ignite them. And oh my God, the outpouring of love and support didn't stop. And I mean, people hit me up like crazy. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? And I just get referred into my coach. Go to my coach. Go to my coach. She's the best. Go to her. And she's like, Dan, I cannot. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. She goes, you are so attractive online. And I don't mean attractive looking. I mean, people are attracted to who you are, because I never put something out that I don't do myself. And she says, do you want to coach them? I said, absolutely not. I take coaching very serious. Like, it's like, to me, it's an honor to coach somebody. It's a blessing to coach them. I take it to the highest esteem. I hold myself accountable to them. I take it very tough if somebody's not successful, even if they don't do the work. And she goes, but think about the blessing you can give them by helping them. They don't know me. They know me as a coach. They know you as Dan Zitofsky. They know me personally. And I says, well, you're right. She goes, what if I help you coach them? I'm like, all right. She goes, think of the blessing you be for them. And I said, okay. I said, you know what? You're right. She goes, but you have to have a selfish reason for doing it. So I just want to help them. She goes, it's not enough because they don't want to, why do you want to do it? And I thought about it, and, I said things like, well, for me, I even my book sales and all my trainings, I donate my money. All right. It all gets donated to different causes. Oh, wow. So I said, it's not about the money for me. And she says, well, be careful with saying that because some people really do for money, but be careful. I said, well, it's really, it's good because I donate more when I get it. But I said, for me, what it'll do? It'll hold me accountable. Because if I'm coaching you on how to get healthy, how can I go out there and not be doing the right thing? I know I have to speak to you. It holds me accountable. Just like in real estate investing, it holds me accountable. Yeah. So if nothing else, I'm a blessing to people and I'm held accountable. And it's been the hugest. I coach a lot of people in real estate. I do life coaching. I do business consulting. But man, health coaching is one of the greatest blessings in my life. I love it because without anything else, and I'm meeting with people that you would think are healthy. I'm meeting with some of the most successful entrepreneurs that you can imagine right now, that when I get behind the scenes, we're changing their lives. And there's no better feeling in the world than doing that personally, right? For me. So I'm loving it. I found like vitality in my life again, doing something I truly, truly love. And so I've always helped them coach to get wealthy. Now I can help them coach to get healthy too. Because without health, there's no wealth. We know that, right?
Exactly.
It could be the most important thing in your lives. And the same thing, before I even coach anyone getting healthy, I ask them, what's their why? Why do they want to get healthy? And if they don't have a good enough why, I probably can't help them because they're going to fall off. Yeah.
Well, like you said, I think that why just keeps you more accountable. If the why is just for money or maybe even self-esteem, but like you had said, coaching people, helps you hold yourself accountable as well. So it's really a win-win, not even just for your people you're coaching, but for yourself as well.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, as we're getting close to wrapping this up, Dan, and I kind of wanted to ask two things. In addition to your book, if any of my listeners were interested in, maybe partaking in some of your investments or learning about your investment strategies and or, getting some coaching in life, wealth, health, what are the easiest ways to reach out and get a hold of you and your company?
Best way is going to get in my company, and I dropped those show links you can put those in the show links, a couple links. One is, every time I speak at an event, I give away a free PDF, a cheat sheet. So you can go to passivewealthacademy.com/42K, and you have that link. You could share it out. passivewealthacademy.com/42K. Two places are my YouTube page, because we're starting to move everything over to YouTube now, because on social media, it gets buried and people keep asking.
Exactly.
So go to our YouTube page. I gave you the link for that. You could share that out here in the group. And in Facebook, you'd want to go to my group page, not my personal page, because I keep hitting the 5,000 friends limit, and I can't accept more people. So go to Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky. Become a Real Estate Investor with Dan Zitofsky. And if you go to Instagram, I don't do that much, but I'm starting to focus on doing more there. And it's just my name, Dan Zitofsky, on Instagram. So those are a bunch of places to get a hold of me. But in our group, our free group, these are all free things I put out there. Nothing here you have to pay for. We try to give a ton of free content for people that just want content. And that's what it's about. It's a huge blessing for me to be able to do that, share a ton of content with people. But I'm going to be moving a lot more of my content to YouTube just because it stays there. And we find that people get a lot more out of that than on Facebook, because Facebook, like I said, it gets buried. They see it in the first day or two. Then they can't find it a month later. So I told my team, let's start moving everything over to YouTube. So if you go there, I gave you the link. If they register, get on there, subscribe, comment, let us know what you want more of. We'll do more of. We've done some. In fact, I think you were in Alabama. I think one of our best videos on YouTube is with Clayton, teaching him my whole business model in his office. So you can find it on my YouTube page.
Oh, wow.
It'll blow you. It's probably the most viewed video on our YouTube page.
All right.
On our Facebook page, I think it had like over 10,000, but on YouTube, it has a couple thousand, I think.
Yeah.
But we're just starting to move over to YouTube. We've been there, but we really haven't spent much time there. We're really starting to put more time into YouTube now. So, but the free cheat sheet will give you a lot of information as well. So, jump on there, grab it, grab the book. Really, the book will be a nice, easy read for you. A couple hours, you'll be done. And a ton of action-packed steps in there. It talks about my business, my why, and my how.
Perfect. Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. And I can definitely relate to that. YouTube seems to be a better platform. Facebook just seems to get buried, and then you get hit up with ads that seem to have absolutely nothing to do with what you're interested in. I still get hit up with sports stuff, and I'm not a sports fan, but somehow some algorithm on Facebook says, "Oh, you must be interested in this." So.
Yeah, you're in Minnesota during the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe
that's your algorithm.
Maybe that was a connection. Who knows? All right. Well, again, Dan, it's been great to reconnect since back in 2019.
Yeah.
Thank you again for, as you put, being vulnerable and sharing your story, your how and your why, and how my listeners can reach out and hopefully better their health and wealth as well.
Love it. It was a pleasure, John. Thanks so much for reaching out.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dan.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to share, rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates, check out www.wealthandfreedomnexus.com. Remember, nothing on this show should be considered tax, legal, investment, or professional advice. This show is produced solely for educational and informational purposes. Please consult an appropriate and licensed tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for specific advice for your situation. For distribution or publication rights or media interviews, please contact the host.